got a big heart, I can let you in. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world, on top of the world.
Oh man, I think we're live. Let me get my YouTube to catch up with us. Hey everyone, how are you all doing? Oh yes, Scott K, you are like that slice of cake at the end of a really hard day. Glad you're here. Hi Rosie, hi Be Kind, Flame Lily, Sugar Butt, how y'all doing? I hope you're doing great. I'm not on camera tonight. I had got like no sleep last night and I am exhausted, but I am really committed to continuing this series, so tired or not, here we are. And tonight we're going to talk about a really important aspect of narcissistic relationships. Hey, Cement Shoes, I'm glad you made it. How you doing? Leaving. I mean, at the end of the day, leaving a toxic relationship is the point of it all, right? And getting out safely. It's not that easy to do. Now, we've talked about this a lot in this series, but we haven't really come down with, all right, let's go through the steps of how to do this and how to keep yourself safe and minimize the fallout. And that brings me to my first point for this talk tonight. There is going to be fallout, period. All right. I'm not going to sugarcoat it and tell you, well, just make the decision and do it. No, it's going to suck. It's going to be horrible. All right. So let's talk about preparing for that type of stuff mentally, getting ourselves in the right frame of mind to handle it, and how to do it without bringing any harm to yourself or anyone else. Okay. The first step, now I'm doing this kind of out of order, okay, because the first step to leaving a toxic or narcissistic relationship is to get yourself to the point where you're ready to make that decision. And that can take anywhere from a couple of months to years. Right? It really depends on every individual relationship. They're very different. And, how you're thinking, right? In a lot of situations, some people will say, well, it's kind of easier to stay. Yes, they're a toxic partner and they do all these terrible things, but it's still easier than being alone. Or we have all kinds of joint assets. We have houses, cars, vacation property. We have children. We have college payments. We have all this stuff. Separating would just be really too much. Right? And a lot of people will make those decisions, and everybody should make the decision that's right for themselves. But for someone who has gotten to the point where they are ready to leave the toxic relationship, how do you prepare? Now, one thing you've heard me say a million times is do not confront your partner. Okay. And I cannot stress this enough. All right. For me, when I left my toxic partner, I had no idea what was going on. I really didn't understand narcissism. I did have a therapist I had been working with who kind of explained things. I just wasn't in the right mind to understand what was happening. I was also a smart aleck, which was not a good idea, very sarcastic. And at that point in our relationship, I was so angry with him, I kept poking the bear. That was really stupid. So let's talk about that first. The ideal way to get out of a toxic situation is to do it secretly. All right. You just carry on like everything's normal, however you would normally be. And in the background, you're making your plan. All right. Now, next week or the week after, there's 3 parts to this series. In one of the next parts, we're going to talk about the actual plan to physically get away from this person. And that's going to depend on if you want them to leave or if you're leaving them. Because what if it's your house and they moved in with you, or your apartment and you own the lease and they need to move? Okay, that's a whole different ballgame than you leaving. And then what do you do if you have children and all of this other stuff? So we'll get to that. But tonight we're going to talk about emotionally sort of psyching up to get this done. So you've made the decision and you're ready to leave your toxic partner. Now, you have to understand that, like I said earlier, there's going to be fallout. All right. And it's going to be ugly. And this is another thing that keeps a lot of people from making that ultimate choice to leave. One of the things that the narcissist or toxic person is going to do, and this is one of my favorite things to talk about because it's so complex, is they're going to create some flying monkeys. Now, if you let them know ahead of time that you're thinking about leaving or you're planning to leave, you're just giving them a heads up and more time to concoct their evil plans. So don't do that. Don't say anything to them. Okay, just, hold all that secret and deal with that after you're safe and far away. So the flying monkeys, once you've left your narcissist, right, they're going to be very upset. Okay. Now, whether this triggers their abandonment issues or their insecurities or narcissistic injury, they're going to want to get back at you, but they're also going to really want to save face. Okay. They don't want to be embarrassed, and you leaving them is going to embarrass them, and that's going to cause some trouble. Hi, Language of Horses. I'm glad to see you. And Falcon Nunya. Hey, how you doing? So the flying monkeys. Now, when you embarrass a narcissist, that's can very often lead to narcissistic injury. Okay, they're going to be really unhappy that you made them look bad. And if you've been in a relationship with them for, say, 5 years, 10 years or so, then you're going to have a lot of mutual friends and family that know you both. And they're going to be very mad that everyone's going to see them as the bad one. So they will start a campaign to make sure that doesn't happen and everyone sees you as the bad one. And this is where the flying monkeys come into play. Now, we use the term flying monkeys, but that's just sort of a throwback to the Wizard of Oz and the Wicked Witch and her flying monkeys. Fly, fly. And she'd send them out to do all these terrible things, right? So think of a narcissist as using everyone in your circle, right? All of your shared acquaintances, family. They will even have to go after people you work with or your boss, your own family. They will recruit anyone that they can to be one of their flying monkeys. Now, they don't sit these people down and say, hey, I'd like to hire you to be my minion to go on a crusade against that person. They don't do that. It's very subtle, very manipulative. Just like all the tactics they use to get you, they will use that to create their flying monkeys. They will show interest in that person. How are you doing? Are you okay? Oh, I know this breakup must have been hard for you because you were our friend. And is there anything I can do? Just let me know. I'm struggling too. I could really use a shoulder to cry on, right? They will worm their way into these people's hearts by either playing the victim or telling them all the terrible things that you did to them, right? They will manipulate these people into believing that you were the one that did something wrong. Now, unfortunately, there are some people in your life that will believe the toxic partner, and that can be really, really distressing. All right. Sorry, trying to get my drink sorted over here. It's very hard when, say, you've known someone for 5 or 10 years and you thought of them as a very good friend, but all of a sudden they're going to believe these stories that your toxic ex is telling them, and they will turn on you. Right? It's shocking. A lot of people they're just like, I can't believe this is happening. 3 of my friends called me today yelling at me for leaving this guy who was so terrible, but they think I was the terrible one. And you really want to defend yourself. You really want to come out swinging and be like, hey, no, they did that, not me. What are you talking about? And most people will do that. That's human nature. Of course, when somebody's saying things about you that aren't true, you want to defend yourself. But you will find that the narcissist game is on point. They will have worked very hard to convince these flying monkeys that you are the bad one. And a lot of times, what I've seen with my ex was he would tell these people, well, what she's going to say is this, but that's not true. What really happened is this. Because obviously your toxic partner knows what really happened, right? But they will tell the story to these people that they're recruiting as their flying monkeys in a way which paints it very differently so that you are the one at fault. All right. And it is so infuriating. I mean, the amount of times when I have wanted to punch a wall hearing some of these stories, that the narcissist will tell people. It's crazy, and it is crazy making, but it is that level of infuriation where you feel like a caged animal, right? Because you just want to go around screaming, that is not true. I didn't do it. He did it. Da, 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 da. And the more you do that, if you react like that, then they'll be like, uh-huh. That's exactly what he said you'd say. And look at you being all crazy. I can see now why he wanted you to leave. So it's like the more you try to fix the problems with the flying monkeys, the worse you're going to make it for yourself. And this is one of the hardest lessons I have ever had to put into practice, is when the flying monkeys come at you, you kind of just have to say, you know what? darn it, I really like that person. I really thought of them as a friend, but they want to take up for the toxic ex, so I'm sorry, but goodbye. And you have to walk away. Now, that's really hard to do. It is so hard to do because you're walking away from people you really cared about, people you may have loved, people that may even be your own family, but honestly, in my experience and from everything I've ever read about these types of relationships, the more you try to undo the manipulation that was done to create these flying monkeys, the worse it's going to be. So it's a very hard thing to accept. And the reason I wanted to start with this tonight is because before you do anything about leaving your toxic partner, you need to know what to expect, and you need to kind of gear up for it. I strongly recommend that anyone who's really ready to make this kind of leap get some therapy first. Not because you're crazy or you need mental help, but because you need someone to help you and guide you through this process. You need someone to talk to say, oh, my best friend turned into a flying monkey and it's breaking my heart. I don't know what to do. That's where the therapist comes in. They can prepare you for these things to happen. They can help you navigate the situation. They can help you stay grounded and focused when you are in this emotional, chaotic place where everything is upside down. Right? I had a tweet the other day where it says, the upside down. Narcissists love to create the upside down. Right? From that great show on Netflix, Stranger Things. I love it. But, if you're in the upside down as a result of having a narcissist in your life, it is not a fun place to be, because a lot of people will come at you. Oh, I'm so sorry that happened. Are you okay? And you'll think, oh, finally a friend to talk to. But you know what? They're not. They're just there to get information from the narcissist. And some of them will do it by acting like your friend. Okay, so it's one of those things where you're like, I can't trust anybody, but I really need a support system. So understand that the flying monkey game is going to come at you. But before you start doing anything, right, before you start even making real hard plans about leaving, collect your support system. Now, Got K, one of the mods here, she calls it your flock. All right, get your flock in order. Get 3 or 4 really close friends or family members or even a therapist, whatever support system you can find. People that know what's going on, that you can really trust, that will support you and have your back through it. Okay, and they also need to know they are also not to contact the narcissist and not to go out defending you, right? Because then you're just creating your own flying monkeys. You don't do that. Their job is to support you and only you. All right, and everything really should stay kind of quiet. To make it the easiest for yourself, keep it quiet, Lorianne Cunningham says her flock made all the difference, and it really does. If you have your flock ready to go, right, and you're all working together, they may be helping you relocate or helping you with finances or helping you find an attorney or whatever you need, or even just to sit there and listen to you when your heart is broken and you're in this chaotic place. That's all you're going to need to help you get through this. All right. And I cannot underestimate, or I cannot undervalue. I've lost for words. I was up too late last night. I cannot tell you how important having your flock is. Even if you've only got 1 or 2 people, you've got to have people who really know what's going on, who are totally on your side, because when all these others start coming at you and you realize they've all turned and they're on the narcissist side, you are going to be spinning your heels and not know what to do. Honestly, I think when I left my ex, the hardest thing ever was dealing with the people that he turned into flying monkeys. Because, leaving him, okay, that was sad because I did love him at a point and all that, but I was glad to be free of this toxicity. But having these people that I cared about and loved turn because of the stories and lies that he told them, now that was where the heartbreak came in. Okay, so don't underestimate the flying monkey thing as, oh yeah, whatever, people talk. Oh, no. This is going to be very, very hurtful. Right, so mentally prepared for it. If you can expect it, right, okay, we have 20 friends, 12 of them are going to be flying monkeys, and I'll probably never talk to them again. All right, get yourself in that space where you're ready to handle that. Get your flock ready so you have people you can run to and cry when you need to cry and say, I'm so mad, it hurts me so much. And they go, I know, but it's okay, we got you. All right, so get your flock ready, and then it might be a little bit easier to navigate the flying monkeys. Let's see. Be Kind says, I learned my mom was my first narcissist. She passed in December, realized a lot after she passed. Adore my adult son and my 2 special needs grandchildren. So-called mom abandoned them. Yep, that's rough. Very rough times. Is narcissism similar to psychopaths? Yes, sort of. In psychology, there's a group of personality disorders called the cluster B personality disorders, basically. Narcissistic personality disorder is part of that. Now, almost like superseding the group of the cluster B disorders would be the term psychopath/sociopath. So in most cases, if you run across a narcissist, there's a psychopath or sociopath. There's still a whole lot of debate between the terms psychopath and sociopath. So, you take that for what it's worth. Yeah, narcissist is very similar to psychopaths. I would say most psychopaths are narcissists, or most narcissists are sociopaths, but they don't always have to be identical. But yeah, you're talking about kind of the same stuff at the end of the day anyway. Lorianne says, mentally prepare for the games after you leave. The manipulation, passive aggressiveness, ignoring boundaries. Yep, let's talk about that. So you've dealt with the flying monkeys, or at least you're prepared to deal with the flying monkeys, right? Put a steel girder around your heart or something, because it's going to hurt. But then you have all of the other stuff. They don't just stop with flying monkeys. They don't create these people to go out in the world and spread lies about you and be mean to you. They will also do terrible things to you. It is very rare for you to walk away from a narcissist and not have to deal with anything else. Just like, yay, I'm done, bye. It doesn't really work that way, unfortunately. So like Lorianne said, the manipulation, right? There's going to be a lot of that. We talked about something called hoovering recently, where after you leave a narcissist, or they leave you, because they do leave on their own free will at times, then comes the hoovering. I'm so sorry. I'll be better. I can change. I miss you. I love you. The hoovering, which is like love bombing with a side of guilt on top of it. The hoovering is just a manipulation tactic to get you back, to keep you under their control and back in their clutches. So expect that. All right. And again, like make a list of things that you can expect, because if suddenly you say, okay, hoovering, I can expect hoovering. This is what hoovering looks like. And then they call you and do it. You'd be like, ha, look at that. I knew you were going to do that. Okay, great. That will help you not succumb to it, because it is really easy to succumb to it. And part of that is also the love bombing, like Lorianne says. They buy you presents, send you flowers, just whatever they think makes you happy. They might, put on that show again, but you have to remember it's just a manipulation tactic. All right. And it's very hard to resist at times. You're vulnerable. You've just left a bad situation. You're scared. You're not sure what's coming. And all of a sudden they are being that dream date again. Right? He is being Prince Charming, or she is being Princess Charming, right? And all of a sudden you're like, oh, if I just went back, I wouldn't feel all this anymore. All right. And you may think, all right, I'll try again. And many, many people do. Most people that leave a toxic relationship like this leave several times before they finally break free completely. So we get it. All right. So the love bombing, 50 texts a day. They will sit there and text you endlessly. Answer me. Why aren't you talking to me? Are you okay? Hello? And it will not stop. So you know what you do? You block them. All right. Now, the problem with something like that is if you share children, or if you share a business, or anything like that, where you have to be in contact with them. That makes leaving them so much harder. So much harder, because you can't just go no contact. No contact is the ideal in most situations, but there are a lot of times you can't. You just can't. So then you open yourself up to getting 50 to 100 texts a day and endless phone calls in the middle of the night just to wake you up. And they just don't stop. Adam asks, will the narc always come back? I would say in 90% of the cases, once you leave your narcissist, you will hear from them again at some point, whether they want to come back, or they want you to go back to them, or they just want to abuse you more. right? Because not all of them will turn to the love bombing and hoovering to try and get you back. Some of them will go on a war path to destroy you completely. They really will. They will try to ruin your business if you have a small business. They will try to destroy your reputation with everyone in the community by using their flying monkeys and telling all kinds of stories. They may try to mess up your bank account, right? Or they'll try all kind of legal tricks. They will do whatever they can to ruin your life if they have an opportunity. Right? So depending on the type of narcissist you want, that's what they're going to do. Why won't they leave? Isn't that the question? How come you can't just say to a narcissist, you know what? This isn't working for me. I'm out. Bye. And then it be done. Right? Like, with healthy people, you can kind of say, we're growing apart and we want to go separate ways, but no hard feelings. Thank you for being in my life. Let's move on. And sure, it will hurt and you'll be sad, but, it's easier to deal with. But with a narcissist, they never will just leave. They just won't. Part of it is, like Be Kind says, your supply, right? They picked you for a reason, and they stayed with you for a while for a reason, because you gave them the supply that they were looking for. Most narcissists will pick people who are very loving, very generous, very kind, very emotionally available, right? People who are nurturing and loving and want to help and want to heal others. That's kind of the people that narcissists are drawn towards, because that feeds their supply. And they always think, well, eventually I can get them back and then I'll get more of that supply for a while. But as we also know, narcissists never usually have one relationship. They always have some others on the back burner. They may not be very active. They may not be actively sleeping with them or anything like that, but they've got other people that they can turn to for that supply when you finally get discarded. Okay. So there's that, but they do always come back. Mine has come back. I took him back way when this first happened, 20 times, 30 times. I don't know. It was ridiculous. But when I finally left for good, he came back even again. I didn't take him back, but he did come back like 10 years later. 10 years of no contact, and this guy still tried to come back. Now, obviously, he was not successful, thank God, but that's what you can kind of expect when you leave a toxic person like this. All right. It's much easier to say, hey, I'm going to not be with you anymore. Bye. And let it be done. And both of you move on with your life. That's not going to happen here. So being prepared for that is a big part of being able to leave them. All right. They're going to do the flying monkeys. They are going to try and get you back. And if they give up on trying to get you back, they're going to just try to cause you as much grief as humanly possible. And they're very good at that. Okay, they are very good at trying to destroy you. They will pretty much stop at nothing, and that's where you get into a lot of other problems. Now, certainly, these types of things can turn physical and turn violent very quickly. So that's what we're going to talk about in the How to Leave Safely episode, is probably next week. You can't just have a big fight and grab your stuff and storm off and go away. You will trigger the narcissistic injury. You can trigger the narcissistic rage, and they can be very violent, right? We're not talking about just, somebody who you just don't get on so well with. These are people who can be actually violent. These are your family annihilators in a lot of cases. These are the people who do physically abusive behaviors. And the second you try to leave, they might try to stop you, and they might try to do it physically. So it's really important to get your head in the right place before you decide to leave your narcissist. So we talked about the flying monkey game. We talked about the hoovering. Now the hoovering, let's talk about that a little bit more. It's very powerful, because in most of these relationships, when you initially meet them, right, and you go through the love bombing phase, it is really intoxicating. Like I said last week, when you fall in love with a narcissist, suddenly you feel like Dorothy, who was at this gray farm in Kansas, walking into Oz. Suddenly there is color in your world. There are giant flowers, and there are glittery witches riding around in bubbles, and everything is beautiful, and you have ruby slippers, and you're like, whoa, I didn't know life could be this good. I thought this was just in the movies. Right? And you truly feel like that in the first stages of these relationships. And their hoovering is designed to bring you back to that place where you felt that sort of amazement and awesomeness and color and, oh, everything is wonderful. So don't underestimate the hoovering. It's going to be powerful and it's going to be hard to resist, right? So if you're ready for it, it makes it easier. All right, so be prepared for flying monkeys. Be prepared for hoovering. Now let's talk about some of the manipulative things that you can expect. Ideally, if you're able to, I would suggest moving very far away. I moved from Connecticut to Texas, and it was the most brilliant thing I've ever done in my life. Okay, for a whole lot of reasons, but mainly getting away from him. And sometimes you have to do that if you can, and if you, in any way possible, if you can move and start over and go no contact, that's your best bet. But you can't always do that. It's not always feasible. So how do you handle that? You have to deal with your physical safety. All right. Do they know where you moved to? Right. If you moved, do they know where you live? Because if they do, you need to be careful. Get a Ring doorbell installed. Get a big dog. Make sure that you have talked to the authorities if you feel that you are physically in danger. All of that kind of stuff. You can't just take it for granted that you'll be fine. Because a lot of times that's when we see the worst case scenario. All right. So prepare, even if you think you're being a little paranoid and a little crazy, prepare for things like that. Be in touch with your local authorities if you're scared of restraining orders. I know it's just a piece of paper. That piece of paper isn't going to stop someone from doing anything, but if you're scared, get one. All right. Follow the advice of the local authorities. Make sure you have a therapist who's going to help you navigate this mess. Do everything you can to protect your physical safety. And you're like, okay, that's sorted. Now we have to deal with the other manipulations. Who do you two know together? Who are your mutual friends? Okay, does this person know where you work? All right, if they do and you think your ex might be a little crazier than some others, you may need to tell your boss. Hey, I've just broken up with this person who's very toxic. I'm expecting some fallout. Just want to give you a heads up in case he shows up here or something. Right now, generally, you wouldn't want to tell your boss that because they're going to look at you like, oh, great, now here comes some drama, which is unfortunately the way most people will see the situation. And that's one of the other hurtful parts of it is people don't take this very seriously. A lot of people, when you're trying to explain narcissistic abuse, they're like, yeah, okay, you're overreacting. He's just a little moody. No, so you've got to deal with things like that. Expect him to manipulate anyone that you two know in common, right? Even your own family. If he wants you back, he'll try to go through your own family. If you have children, he may try to go through the children. He may try to show up at the school and take them out of the school. If you have a sole custody agreement, you've got to deal with the school. So there are so many layers to this. In a normal separation, you wouldn't really have to go through all of this. Right? You would just kind of be like, all right, well, we're divorcing. All right, well, you get the kids on these days. I get them that. Okay, great. Everything's fine. You can co-parent like normal people. Not always the case here, unfortunately. Carrie Ann says, my sister drained my dad's bank for $60,000, racked up his credit cards, took his Social Security money monthly and his veterans monthly income after talking him into giving her power of attorney. Oh, my goodness. Wow, that is awful. Oh, I hope he was able to get that fixed somehow. That is terrible. Yeah, we'll definitely do that. Oh, yeah, that's a good point, Lorianne. If you share the same spiritual beliefs, like if you go to the same church and maybe you have the same pastor and friends at church, they will try to lecture you using your spiritual doctrine about why you shouldn't have left them, or, you're not going to be able to go to heaven unless blah, 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 blah. But yeah, we talked about spiritual narcissism. They will definitely apply that as well. And they may even beat you to the pastor, get there first and tell the pastor all these horrible things you did. So that you show up to church and the pastor's side-eyeing you and you're like, oh no, come on, really, man? And so then your church group may be cut off from you because you may just feel too uncomfortable to have to face that. You know what I mean? So yeah, no matter how you turn, they're going to do things like that. And I really wish I could sit here and tell you, you know what? You just be strong and you just say, I'm leaving, and walk out that door and no contact and everything will be fine. It's really not. So being aware of just how disastrous leaving is going to be is important. I'm not trying to scare anybody out of leaving, okay? Because certainly leaving a toxic partner is the goal. You really want to get away. Life will be better. That I can promise you 100%. But you are going to go through some shit, unfortunately. So there's no point being, sticking our head in the sand and thinking it's not going to happen. Instead, let's be prepared for it. Let's plan for it. Let's have a plan to deal with it, get through it so that we can get to that better place faster. Okay? A narcissist will go to church to try to get you back. Yes, they will. They will. And a lot of narcissists will change whatever spiritual beliefs they have to meet yours when they're in the love bombing stage. Right? It's like, oh, yes, that's my religion too. Oh, that's great. They've never been to that church in their life. But they will do that to mirror your hopes and dreams and everything that's important to you just to get close to you. But they would certainly use that to try and get you back or to hurt you. Remember, nothing is off the board for these people. There's a chessboard in front of them, and you are just one of the little pieces, right? But everyone else that you know, teachers at school, bosses, mutual friends, family, pastors at churches, all of the other people are just pieces on the chessboard to them. They don't care about these people or about how you feel about these people. They say this person would be good to intercept that, and I'll move this person over here and that person over there. Yeah, ha 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 ha. Right? And they will come, up with these really just evil plans to turn everything in your world upside down. So be prepared. All right. Talk to as many people as you can, but only people that you really trust who aren't going to turn around and go tell the narcissist what's going on. Right? If you confide in someone and they say, oh, like, even a pastor, suppose you sit down and you talk to them. I'm thinking of leaving my partner. He's very toxic. He does this and that. And, you tell them the whole story. And you say, I just need some support. And I need to know that you'll be there for me. Okay. Yep, definitely. Yep, you have our support. You walk out of the office. They pick up the phone. Did you know that your wife was planning on leaving you? Is everything okay? Is there anything I can do to help? And even their motive may be to really help. What they're doing is they've just blown your plan wide open, and now you're in trouble when you walk back in that door. So I cannot stress enough how much you have to be careful who you choose to confide your plan in, because it's one of those, it's really a post-traumatic thing where you start to get into a place where you're afraid to trust anyone. And unfortunately, there are times when that is your best plan. It's terrible because once you've been hurt like this and you realize a lot of people that you trusted and you really confided in and you look to for advice are the very ones turning around and doing this to you on behalf of the narcissist, that is shocking. And then you get into the place where you're with your counselor, you're dealing with PTSD, and you're like, I don't trust anybody. I just don't. That's a place that I've kind of been living in for a while. When the people that you think are the absolute closest to you turn around and flip like that, how do you get back from that? And we're talking years of therapy. All right. Scars do run deep. They really do. And it's something that, I can sit here and say, be prepared for that. Oh yeah. Okay. I'm prepared. But until you've been through it, until you've felt it, and you've seen that happen in your life, it's very hard to articulate just how painful that is. Let's see, where's Lunice? Lunice says, I feel too damaged. I was born into a family of narcs. I'm so sorry to hear that. I get that feeling. I really do. I understand how you can feel too damaged. I hope that you have a support system around you. It's very hard when you're raised in a family like that, because the effects are like lifelong. I totally get that. I have some, of course, who doesn't? Who among us doesn't have family issues? But when you've got a family with narcissists in it, oof, it can be too much. And feeling like it's too much makes you feel like why bother trying? Why bother? Might as well just give up. That's when you've got to reach down and find that spark inside of you somewhere. So you know what? I'm not taking it anymore. And that's where your support system will come in. So, that's when you tell your flock, I'm tired. I don't want to do this anymore. And they build you back up. They're like, it's okay. Take a break. We got you. What can I do to help? Let's get it done. All right. So we have to emotionally prepare for the damage that will happen when we leave our narcissist. But how do you do that without letting that fear stop you from making that choice? Because honestly, if I was in a relationship with someone like this right now and ready to leave, I'd be like, oh man, I'm going to have to go through that again. It's going to be terrible. I don't want to go through that again. And part of me might think, is it really worth it? But you know what? It really is. It really is. Yes, it's going to suck. You're going to cry. You're going to be angry. You're going to have to deal with all kinds of nonsense. Nonsense you can't even imagine is coming. Because a narcissist of nothing is nothing if not imaginative, which stinks, but, they are. So you got to plan ahead and you got to be ready. And it's a tough thing because when you're out there and you've left this relationship and you're starting off on your own, okay, I've got a new apartment, I've got all my stuff, got new bank accounts, everything's great. Phew, it's time to rebuild my life. You are in a very vulnerable place, emotionally, psychologically, possibly even physically, financially. It's a very scary place to be. And all of the courage in the world doesn't overcome some of the pain that comes with that. Unfortunately, it doesn't. Give me 1 second. I really need a drink. And I just got my soda refilled. 1 second. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. You can't really talk for an hour and not have a drink, I've noticed. So, how do you deal with all of this stuff that's happening? And this is something that I think about quite often in my life, especially being a YouTuber, right? Because being a YouTuber is a lot like throwing yourself into a cesspool full of narcissists. It really is. And we're going to talk about that probably next week. But a lot of times, this is something that Be Kind and I just had to talk about earlier today. When you've left the narcissist and then they've created their flying monkey brigade, and they've turned a lot of people against you and they're manipulating everyone around you and they're messing with your job and they're messing with school and they may be messing with the kids. And you're just like, oh, will you just stop? You just want 1 day of peace, right? They probably won't give you that 1 day of peace for a while. But how do you stay calm through it? It's not easy. And one thing that I say all the time is just be the tree. Just be the tree. Certainly, we can relate this to something we're all doing right now, YouTube, right? If you're a creator on YouTube, suddenly everyone seems to think that means you are completely open to any sort of criticism and rumors and you name it that they feel like throwing at you. That's just what you get for being a YouTuber. Okay. Alrighty. Now, if we look at the true crime community, okay, as a whole, I started following the Watts case. That was when I really got into the YouTube true crime community because I was doing the Making a Murderer stuff, but that was mostly on Reddit, and it was just people doing a lot of research, and it was kind of sedate and calm. YouTube is a whole different story with the Watts case. It started as all these people really wanted to talk about the case. I couldn't get enough of the Watts case. It was so shocking, so overwhelming, so just jaw-dropping that this happened, especially after watching his interviews where he's like, I just want my family back. I'm like, something is wrong here, right? So naturally, that was a really big case and everybody wanted to watch it. And all of these YouTube channels popped up all of a sudden. Never heard of them before. Just all over the place. Every day, a new channel about the Watts case. And for the initial period, they were all just talking about the case, right? Talking about the interviews, talking about discovery as it was coming out, talking about all these things. And they were talking about the case. But it wasn't too long before there wasn't any more news about the case. Chris had pled guilty and gone to jail. The discovery was all released. There was a huge document dump that everyone got and was going through all the pages. But after that, what else was there to talk about? There was a lull in the action. And what happened was, instead of maybe finding a new case to talk about, the YouTubers started having a go at each other. Right? It became this race to see who could discredit another creator first, and bigger and better and more dramatically. Right? And that was hard to watch, because I didn't like that at all. But some of these YouTubers I had become quite fond of, and now all of a sudden I'm like, what are you doing? Oh, this is not good. And yeah, the dam broke for sure. And it got crazy. I mean, they were swatting each other. They were calling CPS on each other. I mean, they went real world. It wasn't just, rumors and YouTube drama videos. It went real life. It was unbelievable to me. Absolutely unbelievable. And I swore, that I was not going to take part in that. I unsubscribed from any channel that said anything negative about another creator. I don't want to be part of this. Nope. And which means I really didn't have any more channels to follow at that point, because they kind of all did it. That is happening with the Daybell case now. It is starting to happen. And I'm like, well, I have seen this rodeo before. I have. Now, I wasn't involved in it because thankfully I wasn't a YouTuber then, but I am now. And it's starting. And I'm like, okay, how am I going to deal with this? I need a plan going forward. How do you deal with this? And it's very much the same thing as leaving a toxic partner and the flying monkeys and the manipulation and all of that kind of stuff. It's incredibly similar, at its core. So I have a plan. And I think this plan will also work for somebody dealing with this with a toxic relationship, is be the tree. All right. And what I mean by that is understand that these things are going to happen, period. You cannot avoid it. You cannot stop it. You cannot control it. Okay, it's going to happen. Your toxic partner will have flying monkeys. They will try all kinds of games with anything they can in your life to mess with. It is going to happen. You will lose friends. You may lose family members. It's going to happen. All right, so all right. Number one is acceptance. I accept that this crap is going to happen and there's nothing I can do about it to stop it. Okay. All right. When you get to that level of resolve, there's your first step accomplished. Okay. So whether you're talking about something like YouTube or something like this toxic thing, accept that the bad things are going to happen. And then, okay, how am I going to deal with it when they do? Well, when the flying monkeys start to come at you, first learn to identify them. All right. You need to spot them very quickly before they do any damage, because they may not even realize what they're doing. All right, and that's something to keep in mind. Don't just get angry and slam the door in their face or whatever. Understand that they may not know that they have been recruited as a flying monkey. They may have been told all of these stories by your ex. Terrible, terrible things that they would never believe you would do. But your ex, as a narcissist, is very convincing. Very, very good at convincing people of things. Right? So when they come at you, don't get mad. Don't think that they're trying intentionally to hurt you, but they may genuinely believe what your toxic partner said. Okay? So that doesn't mean welcome them into your home and tell them all your secrets either, because they will turn around and bring that right back to the narcissist. But don't react with anger. That is my number two. So number one is accept that it's going to happen. Number two, do not immediately react with anger. Sure, you're going to be angry. There's no getting around that. But don't react with anger. Just put it in a little box. We'll deal with it later. Okay? Understand that as soon as you can identify who the flying monkeys are, you need to cut them off. Right? Because anything you say to them will get right back to the narcissist, and it will be used against you. Right? So the second you think someone's behaving like a flying monkey, you need to cut them off. And that's where it's going to hurt. It's very hard to cut somebody off that you're very fond of. And you really just, if I just explain myself, they'll understand. If I just tell them, if I just show them this and that, they'll understand. They might, but chances are they're going to take all the stuff that you told them and bring it back to the narcissist, who now can use that against you. All right, so be very, very careful. Have your plan for flying monkeys. Identify and go no contact with them if at all possible. Or at the very least, don't give them anything that they can use against you. Don't tell them how angry you are or how sad you are or how much hurt you're feeling after leaving the relationship. Because what do you think the narcissist is going to do with that information? Knowing that you're just crying your heart out every night. Guess what? They're going to hoover you even harder. They'll find a way to get to you. Oh, honey, don't cry. I'm sorry you're so sad. Let me help you. Let's just try again. I'll change. You don't need that. Right? So even the best intentions between you and the flying monkey can still end up hurting you even more in the long run. All right? So accept things are going to happen. Do not respond with anger, because you're going to make it work. Like Gotke says, this is the time to employ your gray rock that we talked about last week. And Gotke, did you get your gray rock t-shirt? Mine should be here tomorrow, I think. I cannot wait to get my gray rock t-shirt because I need it. So hopefully it'll be here tomorrow. But gray rock, this is where you do not show emotion. You just don't do it because it's not safe for you. And that may be against everything in your nature. For me, I'm a very emotional person. I get very happy or very angry or very sad or whatever because I'm just an emotional person, right? But you know what? I'm not going to show it to the flying monkeys or the narcissist, or because they will just use it against you. No matter how genuine your emotion is, either, oh, she's just hysterical, she's emotional, or, oh, look, she's just crying for sympathy, or, oh, look, ooh, she's mad, oh, yeah, you mad, bruh. You know, just don't do it. Don't do it. You're just giving them more rocks to throw at you. Okay, and you're going to be the gray rock. You're not going to give them rocks to throw at you. All right, so accept, find your center, find your emotional center, stay there, and become the gray rock. All right, so there's your first two steps to dealing with all of this. Because, boy, it's going to come at you hard. But you also have to deal with how you're really feeling. You may be really good at putting on that brave face and going public and being like, hi, everyone, going grocery shopping, waving at your friends. You don't care who's there because you're not afraid of this guy. You've got your life together, right? Meanwhile, you go home and you dissolve into a puddle of tears and you can't even function for 2 days. Right? So you still have to deal with your real feelings. And this is where, again, I totally cannot stress therapy enough. Right? Therapy doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It means you need a hand. You just might need a hand. You might need someone to say, hey, let's recognize what you're feeling. Let's validate it. And let's learn some healthy coping mechanisms to get you through it. And, you know, I don't think there's anyone in this world who wouldn't benefit from therapy. So there you go. I'm a huge fan of therapy. So there's plan 3. All right. Accept, find your center, and get some therapy. You don't have to tell another single soul that you're in therapy. You only have to tell your therapist. Right? And they will help you navigate all of this pain. So if you can get those 3 things kind of lined up, then you're in a very good place emotionally to go forward with your plan to leave the narcissist. All right. Now, oh, well, I do need another drink. It's so dry in here. Give me 1 second. All right. Yeah, that was a very big sip of soda, but it's so good. Not that soda's good for you. I'm not saying that. Don't come at me. But that's my vice. Diet Coke. All right. So you're accepted the fact that these things are going to happen. You are emotionally prepared to stay centered and to be the tree and just let everything that happens blow through your leaves like wind and be like, whatever. You know, one of my favorite sayings that, and this is bad language, so cover your ears if you don't like bad language, but it said, it's a picture, I think, of a sloth being all happy with flowers around him. It says, I said whatever, bitches, and the bitches whatevered. That is your byline. That is your new header for everything. Just let the bitches, whatever. And you stay the tree. Stay the tree. I know it's going to be hurtful. And believe me, it's not easy. I'm not saying this is a piece of cake. I'm not saying you can just say, be the tree, with the Zen thing, and then suddenly you're fine. No. But you have to have that energy around you and be able to embrace that as you go forward in your day-to-day life. Because you still got to go to work. You still got to go grocery shopping. You got to do this. You got to maybe exchange the kids if you have joint custody. You've got to do these things. You can't just sit in a corner and cry forever, right? The best way to do it is be able to find that center and use that to get you through, and then go home and cry and deal with it privately. Okay. Let's see what's going on in chat. I went to your first therapy appointment this week. Yay! Oh, I'm so excited for you. I was explaining the situation, never using the term narcissist, and she sat back and go, is he a narcissist? Excellent. That's a good sign, Lorian, because a lot of therapists may not always be on board with the narcissism thing. Usually they hear, oh, well, I think my ex is a narcissist, and they roll their eyes like, oh, here we go. Here's another one. But for someone to really listen, so it meant she was really listening to what you were explaining, that, or he, I don't know if it's he or she, you said. So that's excellent. That is a really great moment. So it sounds like you have a good therapist. That's good. I've had several therapists over the course of my life. Some have understood it and some haven't. And when I encounter one that doesn't get it, it's like, oh, I think you're overreacting a little. I don't think, it's like, that's not a good therapist. That is not a good therapist. So if you find one that understands narcissism and the PTSD from having been in a narcissistically abusive relationship, awesome. That is good. Oh. So yeah, excellent news. What was I saying? I was looking at chat. What's going on, chat? You guys have any questions about the flying monkey syndrome or getting emotionally prepared? Because there's a lot to it. I wish that I had some magic words, or I could say, okay, just do this and you'll be fine. No, because it's different for everyone. Some people like me wear our hearts on our sleeves and get hurt very easily. Some people don't. Some people are strong enough to just like, yeah, whatever, bitches, and not worry about it, But either way, therapy is pretty much in order for anyone going through this. Now, if you need help, I didn't put my banner up. Why is my banner not up tonight? Where is it? I usually have this on the screen at the bottom all the time. And let me know if I forget that next week. The National Domestic Abuse Hotline. If you need help, right? If you need to find resources or help or shelters or therapists in your area, give them a call. They will help you. They are a national hotline. They're available 24 hours a day. They speak multiple languages. Go ahead and call them if you need anything, and they will help you find what you need. So it is an incredible resource, something that you may as well take advantage of if you need it, because they're fantastic. And their number is 1-800-799-7233. Let's see. Linda, Texas says, I was a great pretender. I couldn't stand being weak. I was determined to be strong. Yeah, there's a lot of that. That's something that I do too. I want to always be strong. But you know what? There are a lot of times when I can't be. But that's where I have my flock, like we were talking about earlier. There are a group of very powerful women that I have in my life that I can turn to when I say, I've had too much. It's just been too much. I just can't today. God, I'm just getting teary just thinking about that. But yeah, I've turned to them many times and said, I just can't anymore. And that's the people who say, you know what? It's okay. Let's have some ice cream. Let's watch a stupid video and laugh. Let's relax. Whatever I need, that's what your flock is for, to say, it's okay. It's okay to feel that way. And sometimes your therapist can't do that, but your flock can, And yeah, it's stronger to ask for help. It's harder to. It is. It's much easier to go through life with the attitude of, I can handle anyone or anything. I am the one that everyone else comes to for help because I've got it all figured out. No, nobody does. Nobody has it all figured out. Everybody hurts at times and everybody needs some help. And being able to say, you know what? I'm feeling really weak today, or really down today, or really sad, or whatever. I'm feeling like I just got beat up. Having somebody to be able to turn to and say that and know that they got your back, that to me is priceless. Ice cream is always the answer. Tara, you have no idea how much ice cream has been through this house this week. It is always the answer. Yep. The weird mom. Hi, how are you doing? Glad to see you. So teleconferencing has made it much easier to be consistent with their. It really has. It's really nice to know that you can do that nowadays, and it's more acceptable to do teleconferencing for therapy. Just be careful that you have a good therapist. Make sure it's a good fit for you. But if you're like me, certainly over the last year or so, with the PTSD that I struggle with still sometimes, and all of the pandemic stuff, I've become relatively agoraphobic. I do not want to go outside, not for love or money. It's a problem. I got to deal with it. I'm getting there. But yeah, being able to sit down on a Zoom call with a therapist is easy. That's not scary. So all right, start there if you have to. Do it. It's a really good option. Just reading chat. Sorry, see what's going on. I'm at a checkup. So you're in. Oh, you're at a checkup. Okay. Say hi to your doctor for us. Oh, yep. Language of Horses sees a therapist from home through a Zoom type thing. Yes, excellent. It is really good. Scrolling up the chat. I don't want to get too far behind. Suzanne says, I wish I had this advice when I was going through these things. Somehow it made it through thanks to therapy, family support, and a talk show that was my escape. Yeah. Yep. Now, one of the reasons that I do the Toxic Bliss series and I started recording my story as a podcast was because it's like, if I had heard this when I was that age going through this all those years ago, man, things would have been different. They would have been. So my goal is to get this out there, to talk about it more, to have more people sharing their own story, which is really hard to do. It's not easy to have a public podcast or something where you're telling people about the abuse you went through and the fact that you walked into it willingly because you fell for this guy who you thought was so great, or women. There are plenty of women narcissists too. It's hard to tell that story, but if just one person hears it and recognizes some of the behavior in their own life and says, hey, I should get out of this, it's not good, and it helps them, that is awesome. That is awesome. 7 times. What happens 7 times, Charlotte? Charlotte Rose says 7 times. Be Kind says, remember when I was so broken, there was nothing left of me. Immediate family didn't recognize me. It took me a year to begin. Yeah, it does. It really eats away at you, your whole self. The weird mom says, I'm very used to my hermit off-grid life. It's really hard to come to town and hold it together. Yep. I totally understand that one. It's been 3 years. I feel bad about it for a long time, but had to for self-preservation. I know it was the right decision. Yeah, we can't feel guilty. Yep. And that's a big part of it. You will feel guilty. That's another thing to add to your list of what to expect. For some reason, and I'm not even entirely sure what that is, you will feel guilty. All right. Now, there's a lot of self-doubt thoughts you have, like, if only I had loved them enough, or if only I had been better or taller or prettier or thinner or more emotional or more available or whatever. All the things that you maybe could have done to make it work. You need to stop those thoughts right away. Okay? Because in a relationship like this with a narcissist, there is nothing you could have done. Absolutely nothing. You could have been the archetypal woman. You could have been Eve straight from the garden, and you would never make that person happy. Okay, so those kinds of thoughts you need to shut down, but you feel guilty. Like I was the only one who cared about them and I left them alone. That was my deal, is because mine was a covert victim narcissist at the beginning. He had alienated himself from his whole family, which is a red flag that I didn't know at the time, and he had nobody. So when I left, I did have some guilt feelings about he's going to be all alone. What if he's homeless? What if he has nowhere to sleep? He has nobody to take care of him. Oh no, what have I done? Oh, please, It's very natural to feel that way, but you've got to try and stop it. And that's where your therapist will come in very handy. He will help you recognize that and replace those thoughts with healthier options. Because they need supply and you are their supply. Absolutely. That is your role to them. Oh, that's a good point. Flame Lily says she didn't see a therapist because her ex would have used it as an excuse that I was not a fit mother. That can be a problem. When you're leaving a narcissist and you have children, you can expect some pretty difficult custody issues and court proceedings. Unfortunately, there's no easy way around that. You have to get a good lawyer that will understand what's happening and really hope that the court will understand. That is so tough, and I've seen so many tragic stories of the narcissist fooling the court, and getting custody of the children away from the other parent, and it is vicious, and it can be so heartbreaking. So that's a tough thing. However, nowadays, certainly, most courts will not see therapy as a detriment to being a good parent. In fact, if your lawyer presents it the right way and saying, hey, they're doing everything they can, they're seeing a therapist regularly to make sure they're on track, they're doing this and this and this, it can be seen as a good thing. But certainly there was a stigma to therapy, and in some places there probably still is, to be honest. There's a stigma to going to therapy. Why are you going to therapy? Are you wrong? Are you crazy? What's wrong? So I totally get that too. That's just another one of the layers of garbage that you have to go through after you leave these relationships. Lorianne says, that's my story. Listening to your public videos where you talked about love bombing, the light bulb went off and my eyes were completely opened. I knew I was being abused, but that was my answer. Awesome. Oh my God, Lorianne, that is so good. Yeah, if I had heard my podcast when I was a young woman, oh, my life might have been very different, for sure. But right now, let me wrap up tonight by saying, when you do break free, finally, when you do get yourself through a good round of therapy and you start to understand your PTSD, if you have it, and how to really find healthy coping mechanisms, life can be pretty darn awesome. I have been married to my husband now for 16 years. He is a wonderful man. He has raised my children as his own. I count on him for everything. He is, I don't want to use that crazy, he's my soulmate, but if there ever was such a thing as a soulmate, it is my current husband. And a lot of the things that I went through with my narcissist ex taught me how to be a better partner. But think about how you are with your narcissist. How much do you give them? How much energy are you pouring into that relationship? You're loving them more than is humanly possible to try and help them and fix them and keep giving and giving and giving because they demand so much. Imagine giving that to somebody who actually appreciates it and gives it back to you. Imagine how amazing that can feel. And you know what? It's there. It is certainly possible. Don't think you're broken forever. Don't think that you can't find actual love. Now it's certainly, life with my husband is not Oz like it was when I was being love bombed by the narcissist, but real is so much better because there's no place like home. Why not keep going with the movie analogy? But it's coming back down from reality. My time in Oz with my narcissist was a dream. It was a fever dream. It wasn't real. It was a mirage that he wove for me that I fell for. But now, reality is pretty darn good. I gotta say, I wouldn't trade my husband for the world. And, it can happen. So don't lose faith. Don't lose hope. Don't think you're too broken, because you will find the person who can handle your kind of broken, even though I would never say you're broken, because we're not broken. We've just seen some shit. We just got to learn how to deal with it, but we can. We can. If you can get through a narcissistic relationship and come out of it and keep moving forward, you're going to be just fine, because you've already been through more than a lot of people have. And you're still okay, right? You will not be broken forever. Absolutely not. Charlotte Rose says she adopted 2 children in 2020. He informed me that he didn't like in March of 2021. Oh, goodness. Oh, I didn't think he had any say in the matter. Oh, my goodness. I moved from Georgia to Alaska, and it wasn't far enough. Yeah, I moved from Connecticut to Texas, and it wasn't far enough. Yep. I hear you. I'm so sorry you went through that. I hope things are settled down or settling down. March wasn't that long ago. But, yeah, goodness. Cement Shoes says, I'm at the point in my life, the only relationship I want is an agent to represent writing projects, a good bartender, and Dr. Green Thumb. There you go. I'm good with that. Sounds good. Oh. Narcissism disorder isn't diagnosed in the UK. Also, we don't use the DSM here, the ICR. Yeah, I've never looked at the UK diagnostic materials. I'm surprised they don't use the DSM-5, but I do know though that there was it the UK who is starting to put coercive control as a legal thing, right? Which is a step towards recognizing narcissistic behavior as abusive, right? So there's a step happening. I believe that was the UK. Rosie, correct me if I'm wrong. I think you and I talked about it. So that's a big deal. Coercive control is a big part of these types of relationships. And it's very hard for a lot of us survivors because you can't say, well, he was abusive. Oh, what did he do? Well, he was a narcissist. They'd be like, well, did he hit you? Not all narcissists are physically abusive. Some are, some aren't. But if you're not being physically abused, like if you don't have black eyes and broken limbs and all this stuff, like, oh, you're not really being abused. Oh, okay, sure. Where for me, a lot of times the emotional abuse hurts worse. Like, please just break my arm and don't emotionally abuse me. I'll heal from that much better. And it's still a work in progress for this to be accepted as an actual form of abuse legally. So yeah, there is a struggle, but I did see, Rosie says, yes, you're right. Okay, so yes, the UK is acknowledging coercive control as a form of abuse. That's a good step. A good step. May not be the end step, but it is certainly a good first step. Charlotte Rose says, we have no mutual friends, but 6 biological children. He paid child support 3 times since August, and I had to sleep with him to get it. I felt like a whore. Oh, man. Oh, Charlotte. I totally feel you. My ex didn't want to pay child support, and that's a whole... I think I put it in one of the Toxic Bliss episodes. Yep. I totally get what you're meaning. I get it. The mod did delete that message just because this may not be appropriate for chat, given that this is a public live stream, but I feel you 100%. 100%. Are all narcissists abusive? If it's an illness, they can't help it, can they? Okay, that's a loaded question. Are all narcissists abusive? I will say yes, because the hallmarks that categorize them as having narcissistic personality disorder, now we're talking about people who are actually diagnosed by a professional as narcissists. The things that make them a narcissist, by definition, make them abusive to others. Okay, a lack of empathy. They can never understand how other people are feeling. They try to mimic it, but they're not so good at it. But having a lack of empathy means you don't care if you hurt somebody. So the chances of hurting somebody are pretty damn high, right? There's a lot of things that go into narcissistic personality disorder specifically, and maybe we'll do an episode just on that, because when we talk about narcissistic behavior, everybody has narcissism in them to a degree. That's a survival mechanism. But once it gets bad, right, narcissistic behaviors become obvious, and they can be very abusive, even when they're not technically diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. So when I say the word narcissist, that's why I always try to say narcissist or toxic people, right, as opposed to someone who's definitively diagnosed with NPD. But I would say anyone who is officially diagnosed with NPD would be abusive. Now, there are some people running around the world who claim to be self-aware malignant narcissists. Well, one guy. He says he's a self-aware malignant narcissist. He's aware of it, so he is able to control his behavior to not be harmful to others. Whether you want to believe that or not, that's up to you. But I'm sitting here saying leopards don't change their spots. There is a lot of discussion in the psychological world, this world of psychiatry, that narcissism cannot be healed. Now, there are things they can do to help, right, with someone who's actually diagnosed with NPD. Although in most cases, if you do not have an incredibly well-versed and well-skilled mental health professional dealing with narcissism who really understands it, the therapist is probably going to get played by the narcissist. So in a lot of situations, taking a narcissist to therapy is a really bad idea, and that's going to backfire horribly, So, you have to make sure that you have the right doctor or mental health care professional for the job if you want them to deal with a narcissist. Because there's so much that goes into that. It's really tricky. But what was the other thing you asked? I thought you asked two things. If it's an illness, they can't help it. Now, there's another question. Is narcissistic personality disorder an illness? Well, it is a disorder, but the definition of illness versus disorder is still a little, I've seen arguments on both sides. Yes, it's an illness, or no, it's not an illness, it's a disorder. Okay, so, that's something for the psychiatrist to debate. Really, for me, it's just, that's a bad thing. And in my world, and from my experiences, narcissists do not change. They can change for a couple months and behave a little bit better, but that does not overcome the underlying issues that cause them to be a narcissist, right? Which at the end of the day is just a pathological level of insecurity. It's off the charts, things that a normal empathetic person just can't comprehend. So triggers can really set one off. I found out again 4 days ago. Uh-oh, Mama Shanshan, that does not sound good. Are you talking about triggering a narcissistic injury? Because that's scary and it's very dangerous. And yeah, you never know what can set one off. You never know. And a lot of times it's not about what sets them off. It's just about they're ready to blow, and they will even create things in their imagination as a reason for being set off like that. Because when they need to blow, it's like, imagine they have a little volcano inside of them, right? And over time, the lava fills up in the chambers in the magma pool, and eventually it's got to blow. It has to, because that's what volcanoes do. And whether you poke them with a stick or whatever, they will come up with some reason to explain why they exploded. So, yeah, it's one of those things where you can't try to, well, I know, I just won't do the things that upset them so their volcano won't explode. No, it doesn't work that way, because it's not about what you're doing. It's about that volcano filling up, and it's going to explode when it's ready to go, whether you've stepped on a mine or not. It's just going to happen. So that's one of the reasons why leaving should be the ultimate goal, because you can never control that. Board and Stuff. Hi, how are you doing? I'm glad to see you. Board and Stuff says, my ex always told me I was a monster while he used to beat me senseless. I finally left, and then he came back telling me again somehow it was my fault, and again I was the monster. You said your ex. I'm hoping you're no longer with that person. I hope. But yeah, that's what they do. Everything that happens is your fault. Everything bad that happens is your fault. If they get angry and punch you, it is your fault, because you made them. So you made me so angry I couldn't help myself. That's not true. Okay? I'm glad you're no longer with him. Okay, phew, I can take a deep breath now. But yeah, it's always your fault. It will always be your fault. And there's nothing you're going to do that's going to change that. But what you have to keep telling yourself is, it's not my fault. You can't, your brain will want to take responsibility for it. I think it's part of us as being the type of people that we are that attract these narcissists. You want to take responsibility to try and fix it. But no, it's not your fault at all. And here's an example. This was kind of interesting. I was having a day the other day, and my husband came home from work. And how did that go? What was that about? Oh, yeah. He came home from work, and I said something like, how was your day? Which is, I always say, he walks through, hi, honey, how was your day? He said, it's like, quiet, why? Or, I'm tired, why? I was like, what do you mean, why? Well, of course, I always ask you how your day was. But it was the way he just said that, why? Like, why do you, I don't know. I heard something in the tone of voice. I was like, excuse me. So I reacted negatively to that. I'm already having a bad day. I hear that. I'm like, excuse me? And of course, he snaps at me, and I snap at him, and he goes and takes a shower, and he comes out, and I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And he's blah, 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 blah. I say, okay, you know what happened here? Let's talk about what happened here. Your anger jar was full. My anger jar was full. We got into the same room together, and poof, our anger jars went. And it wasn't a fight. I don't fight with my husband. but it was more of perceived slights. You know, it was like, so you snapped at me and I got very angry. And certainly for my husband, it's kind of a minefield too, unfortunately, because of my PTSD. When I hear a certain tone of voice from him, or I perceive that he's angry, my fight or flight kicks in, because I was trained by my narcissist to have that response to anger, you know, and I'm still to this day, all these years later, working through that and trying to keep that down. So that triggered that response out of me. And then I got angry. And once it all calmed down, which took maybe 10 minutes because he's a wonderful man, I said, okay, we were talking about it. He said, well, you know, you need to make allowances for me sometimes when I come home from work and I'm angry because I've had a bad day. And I said, huh, all right, wait a minute, pal. Oh, and these are the, you know, the good talks that we have. It starts off not so good, but it ends up really good. I said, I don't think I need to make allowances for your behavior. And I was thinking about this, and I'm like, that sounds an awful lot like a thing, you know, that I've heard of. Certainly, if you're snappish because you've had a long day at work and you're tired, that's not my fault. Right? It's not the kid's fault. It's nobody's fault except you had a long day at work. You can't take that out on anybody else if it's not their fault. You know what I mean? And so I was like, no, I do not have to make allowances for that. But if you come home from work and say, man, I'm tired, I'll be like, oh, come here, honey, and give you a hug or something like that. So it's like, I'm not going to make allowances if you're snapping at me for no reason. But I will try to be mindful of the fact that maybe you're just tired. But if you come at me with attitude, guess what? Guess what? So, yeah, we still have to have big talks about something dumb and little like that, because the lasting damage that this emotional abuse can do to you makes you just so hypersensitive to things. Right now, I'm sure if I wasn't dealing with the CPTSD and all this other crap, and he said, I'm tired, why? And I'd be like, what do you mean, why? And I'd probably throw a tissue at him or something and just go on and not think anything of it. But I was like, what? No, that's a red flag. Oh my God, we must talk about it. He was like, all right, here we go. You know, but it took maybe 10, 15 minutes. We talked it through. Everything was fine. It was like, okay, but there's something for me to ponder. There's a new thing. Okay. Back to the therapist. I had a weird trigger this week. This is how what I heard. This is what I felt. Da 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 da. Where's that come from? And then you go figure out where it came from and you fix it. You know, it's so. This is a pervasive, lasting issue that I don't know if you've been through a severe relationship like this, if you'll ever fully be over. But what's key is making sure that your current partners or your next or new partners understand that we're going to have some weird talks. Okay. Now, just like me saying I don't have to make allowances for my husband snapping at me for no reason, he shouldn't have to make allowances for me having a boatload of mental problems because of my ex. That's not fair either. It works both ways. So there's complications and layers, and this is why therapy is usually the best answer. But yeah, my husband and I have learned to communicate in a way where, like, okay, let's get mad for a minute. All right, take a break. Okay, now can we talk? All right, now let's talk. And usually within 5 minutes of talking, everything's fine. And that's the key. That's something you cannot do with a narcissist. You cannot just sit and talk through something with them, unless you want to sit there and be told it's all your fault. You did everything wrong. If you take responsibility and if you get better, everything will be fine. Narcissists do not apologize. Certainly, they don't do it sincerely. They may do it to get you to shut up for a while, but they won't actually mean it, you know? So yeah, when somebody tells you it's your fault, nope. You know? And that was part of my therapeutic plan for years, was learning that how I react to something is entirely my responsibility. Nobody can make you do something, right? Nobody can make you put your fist through a wall, right? If you get angry to the point where you're punching a wall, you might have some anger issues to deal with, but it's not the other person's fault, okay? Because in a healthy, balanced frame of mind, sure, you're going to get angry at things. Everybody gets angry. That's normal. But you have ways to focus and dissipate that anger that are healthy, or at the very least not destructive. All right. So a lot of times in these relationships, if you do something that triggers a narcissistic injury and you get punched in the face, they will tell you it is your fault. And if you're really in the throes of the relationship, you'll be like, you're right, I'm so sorry, I won't do it again. And you're apologizing to them for them punching you. How does that happen? How does that happen? But that is exactly what happens. So, yeah, Lorian, they talk at you, not to you. Absolutely. Now, mine was a little bit different because mine, in the beginning of our relationship, he was definitely the covert victim narcissist. And for attention, or for supply, he would, we'd have an argument about something, and then we'd have this long 3 or 4 or 5 hour conversation about it. Because as long as I was sitting there talking to him about it, well, what happened that caused this, and why do you think this is, and and what would help you with it? As long as I was doing that, like being his therapist, that he was getting supply. It took me years to realize that that was a bad idea, because he would act very engaged in the conversation and ask a lot of questions and really be present for it. Not because he gave a damn what I was saying, but because he was getting my one-on-one attention. Right? I would tell the kids, we're talking right now. Let me talk to you. This is important. And that was giving him what he wanted. So even though he wasn't talking at me during those, in the early stages of our relationship, that's exactly what it was. It was supply. And finally, one day I'm like, why am I doing this? You're not listening to a damn thing I'm saying. You're pretending you are, but nothing ever changes. So, that's probably a bad idea. So, yeah, these people are nuts, I'm telling you. I shouldn't say that, but it's true. Carrie Ann says, my sister tells me it was my fault. She took my dad's money because I didn't take over his finances, even though I tried. But she wouldn't allow it to happen. Yeah, of course it's your fault. Yep. That is everything. Everything that they do is entirely your fault. And Salty Idaho says, the tone of voice is so triggering for me. I have to remind myself it's not anything I did. Yes. And that's something that I struggle with to this day. Now, thankfully, my husband doesn't really get angry about much. It would take a small act of God for my husband to actually get angry, like tone of voice and rah, kind of angry. But one thing used to trigger my husband. We'd go to bed at night and we had a cat that had separation anxiety. As soon as we'd lay down and turn off the lights, the cat would go in the living room and start howling like someone was trying to kill him. Right? And he'd be like, oh my God, what's wrong with the cat? Right? And we'd go out there and get him and pick him up and bring him to bed, and he'd be okay for a minute, but then he'd run back in the living room and do it again. We're like, what is going on? But we found if you left him long enough, he'd howl for maybe 5-10 minutes and then stop and just go to sleep. So whatever, we tried all kinds of things to fix it. That was just the cat's way. He had to sing us the song of his people every night at bedtime. Maybe it was a prayer to keep us safe. Who knows? But sometimes that would flip my husband out because you can't make it stop. It's this horrible noise. It's really loud. It's the middle of the night, and this animal will not stop. Right? So he would sometimes just yell at the guy, go, Merlin, in this angry tone of voice. Right? Not that my husband doesn't hit animals. He's nothing like that. But it was just the tone of voice that would terrify me. And so we had to talk. You can't do that. He'd be like, what? Why? Can't do what? I was like, don't yell at the cat like that. It's like, but he won't shut up. It's like, I know he won't shut up. But when you yelled like that at the cat because he wouldn't shut up, you put me in a state of absolute panic. So just don't do that, And he was like, okay, honey. Like, I'm not yelling at you. I was like, I know. But just hearing that tone of voice, and that was it. I'd be up all night because I couldn't sleep. It's like, it evokes those feelings again. And that's what therapy is supposed to do, is help you kind of not have those reactions. But there are a few things once in a while that catch me by surprise. And that was one of them. Hi, Janine. I'm glad to see you. I'm glad you made it. Oh. Let's see. My mom used to corner me and my hubby for money to the point we couldn't escape. Oh, goodness, sugar butt. That sounds bad. My mama says it's an opening line from them. When you try to discuss something, they throw it in your face. I'm not arguing with you. Yes. When all is calm, they begin to answer back like this. Yep. Yep, I'm not in the mood to argue. I'm not looking for a fight. I don't want, and you're like, we weren't arguing. What are you talking about? Yeah, that's a pretty big red flag. Oh, bored and stuff. I'm so glad that you feel that way. This series I'm doing, I used to have it private, like just for Patreon and stuff, but I think it needs to be public. It's a conversation that needs to be had. If you ever want to talk more deeply, you can email me. But we also have a Discord server. It's a free chat platform where there are special topic rooms that are safe specifically just to talk about these types of things, where you can share with other people who have also been through it. And I'm there all day. So, if you want to connect with other people who are going through all this same stuff, please come on over to Discord. There's a link for it right there, and it is totally free to use Discord, so it's not a paid thing at all. But yeah, I think my goal is to have a group where we lift each other up. Right? We're not going to tear anybody down. We're not going to tell people you're doing it wrong. That's not how you. No, we're just here to say, hey, you're not alone. We've been through it. I know how much that sucks, and sometimes that's all the little piece that's missing to give someone the courage and strength to face the problems. So yeah. And Sugar, but I'm sorry to hear that. Narcissistic parents and abusive parents, it's some of the hardest thing to go through. I'm so sorry you went through that. Mama Shan says, this is truly a lot of help. I'm so grateful you do this. I appreciate somebody speaking up. It can help so many. And Lorianne says, this conversation is good, but triggering at the same time. Yep. Yeah, it is. And we've talked about some of the other episodes that we've done that are private. Were so triggering that even myself and my guest hosts were like really triggered by the end of the talk. Where we have to go and do our self-care just because we had to talk about something that brought up so much stuff. But at the same time, if we don't talk about it, it'll never get talked about. I don't mean me isn't just me, but people in general. We've got to have, like that wonderful person says over in the Valo conversations we have. You have to get comfortable talking about the uncomfortable. You really do, and it's hard. I'm not saying it's easy, but the more we can do it together, and the more we realize we're really not alone, and you're certainly not crazy. Because a lot of us felt crazy coming out of these relationships. I felt very crazy, but I wasn't. And neither are you. So, yep. Oh, goodness. So, yeah, we're not crazy. Not at all. Maybe a little. Can't say 100% no to that, but I try. Yes, Scott K, we have to give it a name. And plus, we have to educate our children. We have to educate our boys and our girls growing up not to fall prey, because there are women narcissists too. And sometimes they're scarier than the male narcissist in my mind, because the female narcissists that I know seem to be much better at the manipulation game, much better about playing off a role or a mask or a character. It takes a lot more to see through that than it does with a guy. Why? I don't know. But yeah. Talking about stuff together helps yourself, but it helps everyone in the process. Yep, I really appreciate being able to talk about some stuff in this channel with you guys. Anyway, absolutely, Karen, and I'm so glad you're here. I really am. Bored and stuff. Yep, and that's why a lot of the narcissistic behavior is called crazy making. That's what we actually call it, because it will make you think you know nothing and everything you thought was wrong. And would I really do that? Is that me? And then you doubt yourself for years and years and years later. So yeah, we'll talk about crazy making and how to get over that too, because that is a pain in the butt. Hey, Nikki, how are you doing? I hope you're doing well. I hope your daughter's doing well. She's been in my mind lately. I'm glad to see you. All right, so that's pretty much it for tonight. I wanted to wrap it up by saying, remember the steps. This is the emotional preparation for getting ready to leave a narcissist. Do not tell them a damn thing. Do not tell them that you're going to leave them. Do not tell them you're even thinking about it. Keep that quiet. Keep it secret. Keep it safe, says Gandalf, right? Be Gandalf. Keep it secret and keep it safe. Only tell the very few people that you know you can trust with your life. Right? Because anyone else might think, you know what? I can fix this. Let me just talk to him. I can smooth this over. And they may have the best intentions, but they don't get it. Right? So be super careful who you decide to tell about your plan. right? But you do want to have a couple people. You want to have your flock. You need your support system. All right. So accept the fact that bad things are going to happen. Have your support system in place and start thinking about how to be that tree, how to stand strong when all the flying monkeys and the rumors and all of that nasty stuff comes flying at you, because it will. And you got to prepare for it so you don't react and fly off the handle and makes things worse. Right, as much as that sucks. So if you want to talk about any of this, we'll be talking about it over in Discord. Feel free to email me if you have any questions. And there you go. Next week, we're going to talk about leaving a narcissist part 2. Because now we're getting emotionally prepared. We have to get physically prepared and make sure we can do it safely. So we're going to talk about that next week. And then we're probably going to talk about some crazy making, because that's a great idea for a topic, because it's terrible. I hate crazy making. So stand strong. Lift each other up. Lift each other up. Watch for the red flags. When you see other people just tearing other people down, take a step back. Let's not be the people that do that. Let's be the people that lift everyone else up. So thank you for being here, and I hope to see you again next week. Thanks for watching, and take care. Oh, wait, one more thing. Be kind. Last week, you won our Gray Rock t-shirt, but you said you wanted to donate it. Did you want to redo the drawing? Or did you want the t-shirt yourself? Because while we're all here, if you wanted to redonate it, then we will just re-roll it right now while people are here. Let me get you a picture of our Grey Rock t-shirt, because I think it's cool. I hope mine gets here tomorrow. If the website will open. Grey Rock, there it is. Share screen. Is that on my screen? Yeah, that is the Grey Rock t-shirt. Let me make it bigger. It's hard to see. Just a little there. That's our logo, handmade by my husband and myself, to be an 80s rock band throwback kind of logo. Grey Rock. That was our topic from last week. Because we all need to Grey Rock. Where's Be Kind? Has she answered? Oh, she might have left already. All right, well, we will have to deal with that next week then. I'll find out from her. Because, I don't know, maybe she isn't the type to wear t-shirts. But we will be giving it away again next week, or maybe we'll just do a whole nother one. But Grey Rock's the way to go. So thank you all. I love you all. Please stay safe out there. Oh, she says redonate. Okay. You want to do that quick? We have 38 people still here. Do you want to do it quick? I will DM feeding it a magic number. All right. I am thinking of a number between 1 and 50. The first person that gets this number will win a Grey Rock t-shirt of your size, color, whatever you want. Okay, so guess the number. Start now. Feeding it knows the number, so she'll verify it is the real number. First person who gets it, 1 through 50. Pick a number. We have a 17, a 36, a 17. 15. Oh, I hope this is not going to be like last week where we went like for an hour before someone got the number. Oh, there we go. Falcon Nunya. You've got it. Falcon Nunya with the 22. You've got it. All right, Falcon, what I need you to do is send me an email, Awen Reese Podcast. The link to Teespring is in the description. So go pick out a t-shirt. Let me know your size, style, color, all that stuff. I will have to have your address to send it to you. I know that's a creepy thing that we don't like to do a lot, but it's the only way to get it sent to you, obviously, is to get your thing. Or if you're uncomfortable with that, I can Venmo you the money and you can do it yourself, so I will never see your name or address. Totally up to you. Email me, let me know how you want to do it, and we'll get it done. So if you want to stay anonymous, we can work around that. We have ways and magic means. So thank you, Be Kind, for redonating that. You are so sweet. And there you go. Falcon, let me know, and we'll get you your t-shirt. Wait, if you want to buy a t-shirt, there is a code for $5 off. What is the code? Don't click anything yet. The code. The code is Grey Rock. Imagine that. Yep, we can ship to Canada. Absolutely. The US, UK, Canada, and Australia, I think. So, absolutely. All right. So, yeah, prior release documents today. I do have them up in Discord. Sugar Butt, they're nothing big. Motion to change venue, and a request for the grand jury documents. So that's all. Nothing big. But yeah, they ship worldwide. So go ahead. And yep, if you want the code is Grey Rock. So just type Grey Rock, and when you buy it, and you'll get $5 off. So there you go. All right, yay. So we did a giveaway. That's fun. I like doing those. And that was sponsored by one of the mods. So thank you so much for sponsoring that giveaway because that's awesome. All right, I'm going to go and I'm going to do some diamond painting because that is so darn relaxing. And it's been a day. So I'm going to go diamond paint and watch some TV. And I will talk to you guys next Thursday. And stay tuned to the channel because we have more new stuff coming up for Patreon. And I'm all over the place with new projects. So stay tuned. It's going to get crazy around here. Good night. I'll talk to you all soon. As soon as I find the hang up button again.